Good morning, distinguished participants, dear friends. Welcome to the International Conference on Nuclear Threats and Security, organized by European Leadership Network, by World Academy of Art and Science, and by Dag Hammarskjöld University College, and sponsored by NATO, Croatian Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs, by International Center for Sustainable Development, Energy, Water and Environmental Systems, by Geneva School of Diplomacy, and of course our host, Inter-University Center. At this time, when we are so overwhelmed, preoccupied by economic crisis, euro, employment, very, very low employment, and then of course on top of all of that, the serious economic and ecological threats that we are facing. The ecological footprint is about 50% larger than what our Earth's capacity is. At this time, it is sort of natural to lose the realization that the existential threat is the threat of nuclear weapons and nuclear weapons proliferation. That, of course, can proliferate to states, but also to non-state actors. Centuries ago, Immanuel Kant, discussing about war, has argued that there are three conditions that ought to be fulfilled in order for war to cease. And he said the first one, of course, is to have democratic governments. The second one was the condition that there will be interconnection of trade so that it would be against the interest of everybody to do something. And the third was the condition of having weapons that are so destructive that it's senseless to actually start using them. So we could say more or less that all these conditions are fulfilled. But no, basically they are not. As victims of Nagasaki and Hiroshima very clearly point out, human beings are incompatible with nuclear weapons. So we have to do something to eliminate that. And nuclear weapons indeed are immoral because they threaten everything. They are almost illegal because at the International Court of Justice in 1996 almost declared them to be fully illegal. And of course, the very important thing, they are useless. The same, more generally, is true for war. War is immoral. United Nations almost made it illegal in various ways. And of course, it's useless because while centuries ago war could accomplish something, territory, enlargements of dynasty, and so on, now actually you don't have winners, you have only losers with war. As our illustrious forefather, Sir Joseph Rotblat, in his Nobel Peace Acceptance speech said, and let me quote, he said, "The quest for war-free world has a basic purpose, survival. It is our survival, actually, that requires that we abolish nuclear weapons and that we abolish wars." In a way, of course, this is the best of time, to paraphrase Dickens, and this is the worst of time. In which way it is the best? My illustrious predecessor, former president of the World Academy, Harlan Cleveland, ambassador and the president of the university, wrote a book where he listed a whole series of achievements. And indeed, we have achievements. I mean, it is chemical and biological convention. It is also the landmine. It's the stories of cluster ammunitions and so on. There are significant progress in the UN. There was a General Assembly devoted to disarmament and so on. And of course, on top of all of that, or as a basis of all of that, there is a tremendous, actually, progress made in science and technology. On the other hand, of course, though the last nuclear bomb to be used in war was one dropped on Nagasaki, there have been numerous nuclear tests, and they are not casualty-free. Indeed, have been more than hundreds of thousands of people who have been injured and eventually who died. because of this. Then, of course, though the number of nuclear weapons has been seriously reduced, there are much too many that are on trigger alert. And this on trigger alert can be actually made use in any time, very, very quickly. So yes, this is what is a danger that we are facing with. The history of of near accidents and true accidents with nuclear weapons is really frightening. Now, nuclear weapons are, of course, superimposed on all of our other problems. And as we said, we have numerous problems. And therefore, it is, in a way, very important to ask the question, what is the World Academy doing in this effort? Actually, what it does is that the complex of abolishing nuclear weapons and abolishing war is a complex one, indeed, encompassing all sciences, all our approaches, all what we need. Those people who founded the World Academy more than 50 years ago, like Einstein, like Bertrand Russell, like Oppenheimer, Joe Rothblatt, Miller, Laswell, and so on, there were those people who actually generated the major paradigmatic change, most of them in natural sciences. Now we are actually at the beginning of realizing that in order to survive, we have to do a commensurate, actually, paradigmatic change in a number of other things in what we would call economic and social sciences. Obviously, our economy is not in good shape. We do need considerable progress in the international law, though a lot has been done, but much more has to be done, and we are devoting 2 sessions of this meeting to these questions, and these are issues that we have to approach. Then, of course, this is not only the duty of us in the academies, world, national academies, but it's also the duty of universities. The universities being this generator of ideas, and this is, of course, how the Dag Hammarskjöld University College comes into play. The college has been founded roughly about 5 years ago. It carries the name of the illustrious Second Secretary General, Dag Hammarskjöld, and of course, throughout his career as a Secretary General, he was always emphasizing the issue of weapons of mass destruction. And it is, of course, very beautiful that at this meeting we have not only illustrious founders like my friend, yes, Ambassador Lonchar, and one of the founding fathers of the Dag Hammarskjöld, Professor Brkic, but also most important that we have our students. Our students are this backbone, and of course the students of all of us are that backbone that actually will be so very important in all of these efforts that we have. Now, what do we have to do now at these and similar meetings? As we said, there are these essential paradigmatic changes that have to be undertaken, that have been devised, thought of, formulated, and so on. We obviously speak about the need of further development of democracy. The democracy where on one side, of course, we will have everything based on the sovereign states, like the UN, like the European Union, and so on. And on the other hand, we will, of course, work on trying to have, as much as possible, parliaments of sovereign states, something like the UN Parliamentary Assembly that is quite progressing, but also ideas of direct referendum dealing with essential questions. And certainly survival is one of these essential questions. Of course, we should not forget a number of first steps, so to say. We are confronted with things like the Middle East issue that has been with us for a long, long time, and solutions there are important. We have to worry about, as I said, the weapons on trigger alert that requires decision-making in less than half an hour. And we also have to think that what we had some decades ago, there was maybe just only one nuclear weapons-free zone. We have it 5 now. I think one of the last was the treaty in Brindaba, in essentially making the entire African continent a weapon-free zone. And the question is, can we use some of this knowledge, some of this experience somehow to extend it to other domains? This year there have been a number of conferences like this one, so one can legitimately ask why more of these conferences. I think such conferences are always useful, and this one in a way has some specialty. One is that, of course, on one side there are experienced, wise politicians who contribute to this. On the other hand, there are always iconoclastic scientists and researchers that always ask these penetrating, deep questions. All of that is actually happening in a city that we try to do our best to call directly heaven to organize good weather. They promised to have it tomorrow, but we do whatever we can. This is a unique city that had poetically emphasized freedom, and yet there were very few wars, actually, as you see from perfectly, actually, marvelous city walls. So let us hope, let us endeavor that here we come with some novel and interesting initiatives. Thank you very much.